Our next panel, some of the names and faces are going to be familiar to you, but this is a different type of conversation. Stick around. You want to finish this conference to the end, because at the end we're going to have a phenomenal closing remark from one of the key founders of iBridges, Karman Elahian. Without him, none of us would be here today. I can tell you that 100%. So stick around.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an absolute pleasure to be here among this very esteemed group of individuals, entrepreneurs, researchers, innovators. Before beginning, let me ask you, how many of you consider yourself entrepreneur? Please raise your hand. Okay, that's good. How many of you consider yourself as a successful entrepreneur? Almost the same. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, that's a good beginning for the afternoon. So my name is Mehrdad Hariri, and I am the president and CEO of Canadian Science Policy Centre, a non-profit organization started 10 years ago. We have amazing entrepreneurship stories among us, but most importantly, let me thank the iBridges for bringing this conference to Toronto, those people who founded it, who helped sustain it, and now developing it. iBridges, thank you for being in Toronto. And I also want to thank the partners in Toronto who helped this happen. Obviously, the Karafarin, an excellent group of volunteers of Karafarin. And the last, but certainly not the least, the beloved, amazing organization, Tirgan, and its great volunteers. I'm so proud to be here among you. We started the nonprofit organization of Canadian Science Policy Centre with the idea. It was my passion to find out the research that I was doing in the lab, how it may relate to the people across the street, to the society, to the way that we live, to the way that we laugh, to the way that we enjoy our life, and the policies that set our life. That began the journey of linking the science to policy and linking the communities of scientists and researchers with the politicians, policymakers, and the civil society at large. Now we are facing greatest challenges of our time. The landscape of life is changing, the society is changing, the technology is fastly changing, and we are facing enormous challenges as climate change, the AI, and many other technology advances that we have no clue and no idea the impact of our life on our society and the policies that we are making. This is the concern of Canadian Science Policy Centre, and some of us, we are here today with the amazing panel to discuss from the technology perspective and also from the innovation perspective. And I would like to ask the panelists, please come forward to the stage. One by one, I will mention the name. So Fay Arjomandi, oh, the name is here, and Martin Basiri, Brienne, Ghafourifar, and Sepi Ghajar, please come forward. Thank you. So I won't read the CV in extensive, but I just touch highlights of every CV. By the way, I must confess that when I read the CVs of these individuals, I felt so underaccomplished by seeing how much these people have accomplished at the early age, and I felt ashamed of myself. But thank you very much for being here. Some of you coming from out of town, out of Toronto. How was your experience in Toronto, by the way?
Great.
Wonderful. Yeah. Awesome.
I think
Wonderful.
There's 2 or 3 of us from San Francisco, but you guys are here.
I'm local.
I'm from San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm between LA and Vancouver.
That's wonderful. So the way we are going to conduct the panel, I ask each panelist to talk about themselves, the experience that they went through, and we have a couple of questions, and they open it to the floor for your questions, insights, and perhaps recommendations, and we are eager to hear your stories as well. So let's begin by Fay Arjomandi. She has over 20 years of entrepreneurial experience in digital communications and computing. She has served in various C-level executive roles, covering engineering, strategy, operations, product development, and marketing. She's now executive chairwoman of H2 Wellness and a board advisor at various startups. And in 2018, she received Concordia University's Alumni of the Year Award. And in 2014, she was named as one of the most influential women in business leaders in Silicon Valley by San Francisco Business Week. And in 2006, she received the Distinguished Business in Vancouver's Top 40 Under 40 Award. And she is still under 40, by the way. Fay, over to you.
I am still 40, under 40. I mean, under 40.
Yes. So Fay, we want to first hear your story. Please begin.
Where do I start? I mean, I think the core of what I do is problem solving. I'm driven by problem solving, motivated by curiosity. Wherever there is a big problem, I go for it. Wherever there is a big problem that kind of resonates with me, I always say starting a company is like falling in love. You need to feel the butterfly as if you're in love with that idea. And the idea should be big enough and with basically a massive opportunity of $1 billion opportunity with positive impact. I'm pretty adamant to get engaged with projects that really have positive impact in our community, with our society, all about collaboration. And these days I'm quite passionate about data rights. And basically data is not only our privacy, but is our wallet, and everybody's hand is in our wallet except for our hand. So these are the kind of things that I do day in and day out.
Excellent. Thank you. So we go to Martin. Martin Basiri is the CEO, is co-founder and CEO of ApplyBoard. From a young age, very young age actually, Martin has been innovating starting at the age of 14 when he invented his first device. Today, Martin invented more than 25 things. We don't know what things, and has 10 patents. He received the gold medal of the Geneva International Invention Show and won second place at the National Youth Invention Festival. He received his master's degree in mechanotronics. What's that?
Mechatronics.
Okay, that's right. Interesting. You can guess my level of technology knowledge and education. Robotics and automation engineering from University of Waterloo in Canada, and he received his bachelor degree from Shiraz University in electrical and electronics engineering. Shiraz. There you go. Martin,
کلاً
tell us
بچه‌های
about
شیراز همیشه پرچمشون بالاست.
And I know that he loves chelo kebab, by the way. Over to you, Martin. Yes, please, you tell us.
Thank you so much for having me. So I don't know, like when you said like when we started or something, it was always there. I think I was the bad kid that always like tore apart all of my toys and opened like a TV before the dad come home and just figured out what it is. For some reason, there is a bad word in Farsi for it, so I don't use that. For some reason, something inside me was always turning that, let me see what it is. And that's basically, is the same thing. It's like, you know, some people play piano so well, they don't think about it, they just do it. For me, I never thought about it, why I've done something. I don't even know if I should call myself entrepreneur or not. It's just natural, it's just me, you know? It's like, when I'm doing it, I don't feel tired. So I just want to do it more and just feel so good. And yeah, that's it, that's me.
And can I ask that if all Shiraz is like that, or just you?
بله.
Actually, we're known for being quite lazy and tambal. But that's not the case, right?
والا از شما که پنون باشه.
Okay,
I
that was
don't know.
amazing.
Like actually a good question always like they ask us, we have to basically ask the people with the experience. Mr. Nadari, Dr. Nadari is like Shirazi as well. Doctor, why do they call us lazy people?
Okay, before it getting too controversial, let's move on to the next panel. Sepi Ghajar is the co-founder and CEO of TAYGO.com, the first home loan marketplace in the United States that uses technology to assist home buyers with limited affordability to improve their buying power for finding home ownership assistance, affordable home loans, and many other things. Prior to TAYGO, Sepi helped founded B2B software platform as an add-on to Microsoft Cloud Platform for enterprises in New York City called Live Tiles. Sepi is the co-inventor of Live Tiles technology. Live Tiles' success led to an early acquisition of $25 million, which was Sepi's motivation to move to Silicon Valley and start her own company. Sepi, over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, this is the first time that's happening to me, that in such a short amount of time I come back to stage. So it's not strange only for you, it's for me as well. So it's a little strange. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, I went over it, so I'll keep it very short. We already talked about it. The motivation for me is just like any entrepreneurs, we really love solving problems. You give us a problem, and then you make life for us. So that's pretty much the same for all of us, I guess. And the bigger the problem is, the more serious we get about it, because we want to be that person. We get pleasure through going through the process of problem solving. And another thing is, it has to really resonate again with my passion. My passion is technology, and at the same time, another thing grew on me, which was a place that you can call it a home. That is very, very, very inspiring problem to solve. And I completely by accident came to this problem. We were providing technology to independent mortgage industry in the United States. And I got, again, the whole idea of getting into a problem and trying to solve it. And all of a sudden, I started to realize that actually the problem is bigger than what we are thinking that we're solving. The problem is there's no solution to connect the home buyers with the right people who can give them finance. And there's no platform in the United States right now to help these kind of individuals or households to really help them. So we actually kind of transform our technology to be able to solve a bigger problem, and that's why we are here.
Thank you very much. And last, but certainly not the least, Brienne Ghafourifar. She's the co-founder of Entefy. Am I right?
Entefy.
Entefy.
Yeah.
That's right. An AI software company in Silicon Valley. She set a world record at the age of 17 as the youngest college graduate to raise $1 million in venture funding. The figure has since grown, of course, to more than 10 million. After 6 years of advanced R&D, Entefy is now serving global enterprise customers varying in size from mid to 100 billion public companies. As an inventor, Brienne has been awarded several key patents, is a core contributor to Entefy rich IP portfolio. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's amazing to be in such great company today on both panels as well. I understand it's a little awkward. So I hope we're not repetitive at all. And if we are, please just stop us. I think entrepreneurship to some extent kind of runs in my blood. I remember growing up in my parents' offices, so I always watched them in their businesses. And I think when Alston and I grew up, we were able to start a company together. And it really just came from a very human pain point where I think everyone is so focused on B2B and B2C, and all we think about is like H to H, that human to human model of communication, kind of our roots in collaboration, streamlined communication for everybody all over the world. So that's where our journey started in data and digital communication, similar to what Fay mentioned as well. I will say that my first attempt at entrepreneurship was when I was 6 years old, and I was negotiating with my parents on whether or not I should be able to get a puppy. And I built a PowerPoint presentation, and I dressed up, and I presented it to them. Unfortunately, that failed. I still did not get that dog to this day, but I appreciate that, because having a business is like having a child or something that you love more than anything. So we are grateful to be entrepreneurs, and I think our mission for what we're trying to achieve is what drives all of us.
Thank you very much. So I just want to ask you the first question about the year number one, success factor for each of you, and perhaps the biggest challenge that you're facing in your entrepreneurial activities. And I just want to hear from you, what are those factors? Martin, starting with you.
Good question. Where should I start from? So when we started, we started the company 4 years ago. We are about 200 people right now. We have people in 8 countries, from people like Kamran and Lahian, other VCs. We raised about $72 million. And the biggest challenge is focus. And basically find out, where shall I spend every second of my time right now at this point on? And where I can be the most valuable person, and how I give the rest of the work to other people, and basically the hiring the next person. So this puzzle, so in this company, I'm the CEO. Previous one I was doing act as CTO. So the biggest thing is like, make the entire puzzle and basically go and basically one by one to figure out which one I'm solving and which one I'm giving it to other people. I think that's the most exciting and also the biggest challenge for me, at least.
Thank you. And the success? You forgot about the success factor.
Success, I don't know.
Why you were
Success
successful?
is chasing my next dream. Success never came, but it wasn't ever non-fun as well. Success was what it could be in 5 years, you know? And just dreaming about it and chasing it. Yeah.
Thank you. And Fay, over to you.
I think entrepreneurs are constantly stuck between a series of hard tasks and impossible tasks on a day in, day out. And it's a matter of seeing the impossible task, focusing on the hard task, having an eye on what's coming next, because as you solve one problem, then you see the indicators or the elements or the data that you need to solve the impossible task. I think that's one of the things that as an entrepreneur, at least I have experienced. Also, Firuz mentioned that there are points that you have emotional and physically hitting the wall. I think for entrepreneurs, there is a third element, and that is financially, you're also hitting the wall. And that's very challenging because as an entrepreneur, I have always had to keep myself out of the question or out of the equation in terms of the personal advantages that I would get or not get when solving a problem, whether it's a business negotiation or fundraising, or even simplest things as you're about to sign a bonus and salary for one of your employees where you're not getting anything yourself. So constantly you have to keep yourself out of that equation and focus on what is my goal, what is my vision, and where do I want to be. And without this team, I am not going to be able to make it. Somewhere along the path, seeing the happy and satisfied faces of your team is the first reward. You know, every time that you tackle one difficult task, and as a result, you see the happiness of everybody is the most rewarding thing that at least it's been for me. But then immediately after that, 7 minutes after that, you start seeing the other challenges that are coming your way. So the balance of kind of celebrating and yet being able to have the energy and also rallying the entire team to come after and kind of chasing it and solving it. And again, as Firuz mentioned, that in such an environment, the last thing you think about is race, gender, color of skin, or ethnicity or background. It's about how do we solve this problem and how do we solve it systematically, because shortcuts are kind of not going to get you anywhere. Things such as what happened with Elizabeth Holmes or the famous Thronos thing. So to me, it's more like there is no failure along the path. The failure is if I decide to make shortcuts and risk everything. The failure is if I make the company to be about Fay versus the mission and the vision, which we started seeing actually in Silicon Valley, that the brand of the companies is more about the people now than the brand, the teamwork, the collaboration, the brand being the company, the vision is kind of getting dissolved. And also we're going through an interesting time of our lives. We're going through what I call the ecosystem tsunami. We're transitioning from mobile internet era
we get into that in
to
the
a
questions.
hyper-connected world, which actually adds the challenges. So if you want me, I can add those challenges to the next question. Sure.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Sepi, over to you.
That's a very interesting question. And the reason for that is just like anything else in this world, that with change of technology and change of the way that we go about doing things, our lifestyles are changed. The meaning of the success and entrepreneurship has changed as well. Success in these days and time, it's just not one thing that I'm winning and everybody is losing, or there's just one thing that I have to get. It's a more collective approach to success. And really thinking about what am I going to involve, what am I going to bring in. Pretty much I see a successful person as a very good integrator, because there's so much resource out there, there's so much possibilities out, there's so many possibilities out there, there's so much stuff that we can use to bring and reuse into our system and strategy and model, where we don't need to build a lot of things from scratch. But having good eyes for detecting what are the things out there to be able to put together and create a solution, and what am I going to add on to it, right? That can make me successful and all the other contributors to that ecosystem successful, and we create a collective success together. And that is how I see as a new meaning of success in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial endeavor moving forward. And I think any entrepreneur in this day and age, if you really want to be successful, you have to think a model that you can involve so many different parties coming together and moving parts coming together, create a whole with a mission around them, and be part of that ecosystem that you're making and helping others succeed as well. So that's how I see it as the definition of success.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. I was just going to say, I think one of the biggest challenges, just to address that piece of it as well, that at least I think I've experienced as an entrepreneur, is this kind of building team, as you kind of alluded to as well. I think finding the right people to grow something and go from 0 to 1 is probably one of the hardest tasks in the entire growing of a business. And finding the people, not only that you enjoy working with, because we all know you spend like 20 hours a day with these people, especially at the beginning, but people you enjoy working with, and then people you can actually pass the ball to, and someone can grab it and run with it. And that's how you scale. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge that at least keeps me up at night, is being able to find those people and then grow mutually. And then as far as success factors, what I said, I think on the panel before, was this perseverance. I think perseverance is the only thing really that can get you to that other side of failure. And I think it's the make it or break it characteristic of an entrepreneur. At least that's what I feel in my experience. And then to be successful, everybody has a different definition, but to me, sort of on what Sepi said, it's about impact, like creating a global impact, creating a global society. I see myself as a global citizen, so I want to make sure that anything that I'm spending my time on and anything that I put all of my love and heart into is something that ideally we can leverage to create a better global community. And that's how I measure the successes, via the positive impact. I think those factors.
Amazing stories. Thank you. So I just want to go back to what Fay started, and you would be the first to go ahead, is this changing landscape of innovation, which is unprecedented in terms of the fast technological advances in any era that you can think of. It's the AI, quantum computing, and gene editing, biotechnology, and many others. So the definition of innovation is also changing, and its interaction within the society, as you referred to. So you are at the forefront of innovation in North America, perhaps, the most innovative continent of the earth. So how do you see this transition of entrepreneurial activities as an innovator, interacting and following the changes of technology, being able to adopt with that, being able to adopt with the fast changes in finance, in society, in technology, in policy. By the way, we are lagging way behind the technology change. And, but I just want to get your insights on these changing landscape of innovation and keeping up with it, still being innovator. Fay,
yeah, I think so. We're really transitioning from the mobile internet era to the hyper-connected world era, right? And in a hyper-connected world era, everything needs to talk to everything. Every application needs to communicate with every application. And when I look at the kind of the last 20 years, let's say, that I've been in technology, and Mimik is my third company that I started, and I started it 10 years ago. Around the vision of decentralization, around the vision of connecting, being the enabler, being the cloud of the hyper-connected world. But about 20 years ago, when I started my first company, the world was much simpler, right? So you had the startup companies that were coming to market, and they were disrupting the pre-digital world era of the incumbents. What those incumbents didn't have, the IBMs of the world, the HP of the world, and those guys didn't have, was the power of data, right? They were not data-driven company. What I see today, the competitors to startups are like Amazons of the world, Facebook of the world, Google of the world. And they have our data. They have the data from us as individuals, and they have the data from applications and systems. The data no longer gives you just the answer to your question. The data actually forms the question that you didn't even know. And when companies such as these kind of the digital incumbents of the world, that they're pretty much influencing 80% of internet traffic, they have the power of data, and they have the power of data. They have a humongous amount of money in their hand. They hire. It's almost like when I look at the landscape of resource, it's like these companies, now I just mentioned a few of them, these companies are hoarding people. It's almost like I'm just hoarding you. I just want to have you, just because I don't want you. I don't want my competitor to have you. I have a lot of friends in these companies, and when I ask them what they do, they pretty much work two hours a day. The rest they are in the adult playground, and I mean, free food, free transport, free gym, free this, free club. Everything is like, I'm sure if you guys have gone to Facebook campus, you see that it's pretty much is an adult Disneyland. So, and given the cost of living is so high, 20 years ago when I started my first company, I basically went to people and said, hey, I want to do this. Are you interested in joining me? And by the way, I don't have money to pay you. And people would say, sure, I love the vision. I want to solve the problem. Let's go. Today, you can't say, don't get paid because I have a vision, because cost of living is much higher than what it used to be. And you get a very hefty paycheck from these companies, so you can't really do anything else because you have kids. I mean, people like me, that they gave up on everything except for work are rare to find. So that's one challenge. Then you have these companies that, the companies are utilizing data and they deliver A to Z, soup to nut, and including getting the solution in the hand of enterprise or customer in a glimpse of an eye. So how would you expect the new entrepreneur to actually try to solve the problem? The other, to start a company. The other thing is that basically the first generation of digital, such as Intel and Microsoft and those guys, they were about, hey, I'm developing a platform and I want to do these things. Today, when you go to investors and say, hey, I'm developing a platform, it's like you go and you present sent Mars rover, and the first thing investor says is that, why don't you focus on just that balloons and turn it into an airbag and sell it to the car companies? So you hardly, like, you go and you develop this vision and you explain how you're after capturing the market, but somehow after the Facebook era, not only they created instant gratification in consumer, they also created instant gratification in investors. So the investor want to put money in, 100 times money out. And immediately, no more patience for creating the next generation of platform that requires for enabling the hyper-connected world. So as a result, the balance has changed. While there is a lot more that we need to know and do, including learning from our past and say, these are the things we made a mistake, lack of ethics in data policy, lack of ethics in the impact of the solution that we're developing and launching to market, that we, especially my generation, is responsible for. Not only there are things that we need to fix, but as an entrepreneur, I think entrepreneurs are in a very disadvantageous position than what they used to be.
I want to disagree with that.
Sure, please.
So this is my advantage as a CEO to compete with a bigger company like Microsoft. Today, I put something on my Instagram. So what we do, we help international students from all over the world to come to Canada and United States. The way that we came with this idea is because I came from Iran 9 years ago to Canada, and I found that problem so hard that I said, something should have been done on this, and we basically attacked it, and somehow it's become the biggest platform in the whole world, and this is why the bigger guys can't come and do something about it. And the one is, today, this morning, I post something on my Instagram. And there is one of my customers who used us to come to Canada, saw that on Instagram, and ran and come, and we met here. And said, I used your company to come to Canada, and he gave me the real feedback. That's my edge. I can talk to my customer, me, the CEO, I'm a small, I can talk to the customer, I can really feel it. I can see his time, I can see his excitement. He's telling me first-hand feedback, not through 5 level of director level of VP of product, director of product, PM manager, PM, and then researcher to tell me, oh, your customer think that way. I'm touching my customer. You know, he come and hug me and take a picture, then he go and talk to people. People actually want these takes very, very clean and real things. You know, remember those multi-million-dollar advertisement on the videos that they had to put $30 million to Super Bowl? But these days, a non-polished, very authentic Instagram video go viral. You know, a very short 45 seconds. That's my advantage, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think the area of cost of entrepreneurship came down so small. You know, for example, I know like in 30 years ago, or like, let's say even like 19 years ago, if you wanted to start a company, right? If tomorrow you said, I want to start selling a ring online, you had to first literally buy a $3 million server room and have a couple of people just to run your servers. Today with Amazon AWS, the first $10,000 of it is free. We ran our company for 4 years. We still haven't paid more than $10,000 to Amazon, just getting credited. The cost of entrepreneurship, it's so small right now. And the cost of risk is very low too. Like these people, we don't get homeless anymore by trying and failing. So like, what wrong can go with me? Actually, the best thing about it is like, if entrepreneurs go and try something and they fail, all companies want it. I always pay highest stock option to the people who has tried a company before. They were entrepreneur, because I know if they come, they take it and go forward for it. So I think even even if you take something and go. So I'm extremely positive about future of entrepreneurship, and super small companies become very big out of nothing very fast. Very fast. Like right now we are in an era of that some company like Brex become $2 billion company less than 3 years. That is our opportunity. This is the beautiful of this world. Yes, Amazon become $1 trillion, but it took them 7 years to go from $200 billion to $1 trillion. I'm a 4-year-old company which is $400 million, you know? It's like from 0 we made it to 400, right? The speed of being small and go fast, it right now is amazing time to quit your job and start your next company, you know?
There you go. Thank you. Excellent speech.
Can I just say
Okay.
something?
Yes,
Yeah.
Brienne, go ahead.
I
And
just
then
have to say something. I think it's somewhere in the middle. And the reason I say that is because I think you're right. There are more opportunities today probably than ever. I do think we can all agree with that. Are there enough? No. By the nature of us being here, it says it's not enough yet, but that's okay. In your perspective, though, it's become more competitive. Really, really competitive, right? Throw a dart. So Palo Alto, right? I'm in Palo Alto. I was laughing so much at what you were saying earlier about the adult playground because I am neighbors to those companies. I have been there a million times, and I'm like, how do you guys operate when you're playing ping pong all day, right? So I think the challenge, the struggle of people and time and really, really progressive innovation is so high. The barrier to success is so high. The opportunities are there. So it's got to be somewhere in the middle.
And that's what I said. I said it's actually, while there is a lot to be done,
There is a lot to be
done,
done.
challenges are much more.
So the whole thing, I think the entrepreneurship is that big elephant in the room. And I think the opportunity is there, but again, we have to scientifically acknowledge the problems so that when we go about solving them, we have the right solution. So we can increase the chance of success and being able to not to fail. That's how I see it.
Being between the difficult tasks.
Great, amazing discussion, and now I want to make sure that you also participate in this great discussions. If anybody have any question, comment, idea, please from there. And feel free to introduce yourself if you want to.
Yes.
Yes.
Or is it just escalation of commitment? And like scientifically, we don't have an answer for it because in the nature, they are the same. You're committed to a failing cause because you're married to that idea and you think that no one else understands what I'm doing, but this is the dream and I need to persist, or it's the other way around. So what is, like when you're helping entrepreneurs, how can you tell if this is the idea that they should probably set aside and move to something else, or this is the idea and they need to push harder?
I think it's both. Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, I think it's both. Perseverance needs to be combined with some kind of differentiation, right, if you think about it. The market is so competitive, and that's what we were just getting into. The market is so competitive. I can speak just only to our personal experience that about 50% of what we do, technologically speaking, is completely new. It's never been done before. So there's a lot of trial and error and banging your head against a wall. When you know there's an outcome to be had and the outcome has such a massive impact, we always like to say that the bigger the problem, the less the competition, right? Like you're climbing Mount Everest, you're going to have very few competitors in that particular mission. So I think it's a combination. The perseverance is important, but you also have to be differentiated, right? And the first time you go into a meeting and you're talking to an investor, even a team member these days have similar questions to VCs, which is like, what makes you better than, like you mentioned, Amazon or Google or Facebook? It's not even even what makes you better than another company right down the street. It's like what makes you better than the biggest companies in the world, where differentiation matters so much because it's so competitive. You have a value proposition of what you're building, why it's different, why you're building it, right? Like what's different from you versus somebody who may have more pedigree or has, worked at Google before. So it's a combination of those things, and I think having both is necessary to being successful, because you can be very perseverant at something that, let's say, doesn't have a defined outcome or won't have a big impact or people will never buy, and it will be very hard to become successful. So to whatever extent that answers your question, you have to have, in my mind, you have to have both ingredients to create that success story. Do you guys agree?
Yeah,
I mean,
can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure.
So to me, actually, idea doesn't matter at all. The customer matters everything. The person who you're trying to solve. It doesn't matter how you solve it. The idea means solution. The attach from the idea. You said married to the idea. There's not such a thing to marry to the idea. You marry to the customer. And you become obsessed about your customer. You try to solve that problem better than everyone else. You try to make a smile to your customer face. So whenever they hear you, regardless of the idea, they smile. Then you guys think that Uber was number 40th, right? Sharing that somehow came. People use Craigslist before, or Airbnb was basically Craigslist still have one of those home sharing things. Thousands of people use that, if not millions. The thing is, you want to make it so easy for your customers. You want to think about them, breathe your customers. So basically the persistence is when time is hard and your body is in pain, you are not thinking of yourself. You're not thinking of it is 7 p.m. and you have to go. It's thinking about what I'm doing. Is it getting me one step closer to the smile of my customer? In that era, idea doesn't matter, and always your persistent win.
Thank you. Other questions over there, please?
Yes, please. Dear entrepreneurs, do you mind if I ask what is your second favorite topic or the problem with the deduction method that resonates you, but you don't have enough time for it now, that you might think or consider about it in the future?
Is that for me? Is that for all of us or for me? The deducted.
You want to steal our ideas? Is that what you said?
You want?
With the deduction method, which is less risky.
How about Sepi?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna.
What is yours? So you're
thing.
doing your first.
So there's so many
favorite
ideas. The way that
problem
you find ideas, right? You live amongst people, right? They tell you what their problems are. You live a social life. You live a vibrant life, and you involve in day-to-day life of everybody, your family, your friends, your neighbors, right? You see what they're.
You might haven't heard me, Mike. So you have already solved a big, major problem for people.
I am solving.
What is the second favorite that you haven't done? Another major.
You want me to try?
Big,
You
yes.
want me to try? Do you want to go? So I was just going to say, for me, it's actually education. Education, I think, is probably one of the biggest challenges in all society, just globally. Being a person and all of us that are hiring people, I can tell you we have a problem with our education system. I don't think it's as tactical as it should be. I don't think it's as experiential as it should be. Not everybody learns just from reading textbooks and taking exams. The world is all about application, and our professional lives are all about applying our skills and growing our skills. So for me personally, and I went through a very unique education path where I kind of accelerated through high school, and I went straight to college when I was 14, and I finished when I was 17, and that just told me there's like this 8-year gap of time that could be avoided if people could just rush through what we're learning in school. So for me, it's education. That's all I want to say.
Something like Amazon, education in Amazon style, that it pulls everything, for example.
In Amazon style?
No, I mean, Amazon have pulled all the other
consolidation.
markets, like required.
It is a little related to what to your idea, but I think I'm coming from the United States, so I know all the problems of people, not all of them, but some of the problems of people in the United States. And one of the biggest problems right now is a student loan. Student debt, it's so much right now in the United States that it actually prevents people from living a normal life. let alone buying a home or anything. Actually, one of our demographics to help is people fresh out of the college who are finding their first job with a massive student loan, and we're trying to figure out how do we finance and refinance their loans. So if anybody comes up with that idea and they have a better financing of student loans, because I don't really think that education is going to ever be free in the United States, because that we are living in a capitalist country. But if we are having a better solution for that, financing it, whether that be through crowdfunding, or I don't know, digital currency. I don't know how. Somehow this is a big problem. And if we solve that problem, this actually enables people to spend money more because they're going to have more money. So that's what I see a big problem.
On my side, I think is disinformation. Right now, disinformation is the #1 cause of chaos around the world. Being able to filter the accurate information out of noise that was created either intentionally or unintentionally is the next big challenge that we are facing.
Thank you.
Solving it would be great. Disinformation generally. Fake news is just one section of it, but generally speaking, disinformation.
And I think we as technologists are responsible for that. We provided enough kind of solutions and tech solutions easy in everybody's hand. They can create and produce news easy.
Absolutely.
You had a question? Yes.
First of all, thanks for.
Sorry, the next person.
Oh, sorry, you didn't answer.
Sorry, we can go on to the next. No, sorry, my apologies. Other people, please.
First of all, thanks for the amazing panel. I learned a lot. So I'm not coming from entrepreneurship background, but I'm also in tech. And it's always interesting for me to know, like, given what you said about Facebook, like, okay, so if you work in Facebook, or like I had the experience of working at Google, you have everything, you have access to everything, and you have a really, really cool life. So how do you go with hiring? Like, how can you compete with like this large corporation to hire people? I mean, in my opinion, like looking from a far distance, it's kind of a challenge to bring these people who have these opportunities to a startup and say that, like, okay, so as a co-founder, as a founder, you will have the benefit of going with something which really inspire you, and also like get the benefit of what you always loved. But like, how do you convince people to get hired in your company? What do you say to them?
I go. Yeah. As Fay said, I totally agree with. I'm sorry that I'm. Is it okay? Okay. I have my philosophy when I go about hiring people, as startups, especially with what we know is out there, especially in Silicon Valley, it's impossible. I tried so many times, at least 20 times, to hire somebody from Facebook. They said, well, I'm so comfortable. Why should I do that? And Facebook is right next to us. Like, I can go there and say, hey, guys, do you want to come over? And I keep inviting them for lunch and stuff like that. So I came down to realize we as entrepreneurs, we are supposed to train and build and make legends and great employees, so we have to train them. I usually go after, it might not be the best strategy, but this is what worked for me. So I bring people who are hungry enough, but not good enough yet, right? And I invest my time, emotion, care, everything. Martin is lucky enough to think about 7 p.m. if I'm going to go home,
Yeah.
you know? We are like something
We're
around
more
12
like
a.m.
midnight hours.
So yeah, my time 7 p.m. is 12 a.m. And you really invest in that person because that person is hungry, and that is passionate and hungry. They have to be that. And then you build that bond that person will never find elsewhere. And this person will stay with you for a long time. All of my employees with me for 3 years. And even though in very, very hard times, we actually had to cut salary, not paying anything to them for a couple months, they didn't leave us. And that is the bond, and that's the only way you can compete. And that worked for me, but it's it requires a lot of resource and
Yeah,
time. You have to be willing to put in up to it.
Absolutely, she's absolutely right. Like, I'm fortunate enough that right now pretty much half of my team been working with me for 20 years, and they've been following me from one company after another. And then that has become the base to build others. And everything that Sepi said exactly, you invest, you're the mother of the company. And those are your children that you have to provide care with. Some of them may stay, some of them may go. Some of them may have to go because they have no other choice, because they have wife and 3 kids that go to school and need to get paid. So it's not always about that they want to leave you as well. It's almost sometimes about, that's what I said, that cost of living has increased so much that makes the challenge even a bigger challenge.
I have a...
Oh, sorry, Martin.
Yeah.
You should work harder, by the way.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by
Believe me,
girls
like-
here. You need to like.
Is that good? Yeah, believe me, we went through those days. Yeah. Like, I was nomad for 2 years, so I was sleeping most of my time in the office. The first engineer I hired, I was talking to him for 6 months. I was working on him for 6 months, so he quit IBM to come, and it was so good. You know, I like every single minute of it worked. But so I think it comes back to persistence. You as an entrepreneur, your job first is to get the first people, and you go talk to so many people. See, when you see a light, then you go, push, so many times till like that basically you tell the whole story, and actually you get better at it. Then more people come and more people join you, and then you have to also be fun, you know. Other people want to work with you for so long, you know, sometimes to 12 at night or something. So you got to be fun, so they enjoy like being beside you, and you have to see how to behave with them, you know. In Farsi we say, treat other people the way that you like you to be treated. But in reality, as a CEO or as a co-founder or leader, you have to treat other people the way that they want to be treated. The one that they need appreciation, you have to clap for them. The one that they need companion, you have to like be beside them and just invite them to your home, you know. You have to work, all of these employees are your asset, you know. These are like your baby, like Rayhun that you know, put in your garden, and you have to like raise them up. That's my strategy.
Next question. Yes, over there, and then.
Thank you all. I'm Farid, a PhD candidate at Ontario Tech. So I have a question, especially for Mr. Basiri. So there are a lot of people in their academic career who have had innovations and things, academic works, and really want to transit from academic career into an innovative company or entrepreneurship. So my question is, do you have any recommendation for those people, especially here in Canada and Ontario? And second, is there any platform like ApplyBoard for this or not? Thank you.
Anybody would like to take that?
No, I think
That's for you.
Martin.
So transition from academic to the work. So I think one of the hardest thing for people who are working academic to come to the real world, to have a sense of touch, to see like what it is, because in a school, again, back to the education model, the problems that we solve every day is so different with the problem that you solve at a work or at a startup. But the method of solving it is very similar. So I think the best idea that I can tell, and is general, it depends on your case, but general is to solve a problem that relate to you, and you are the customer yourself if that problem solved, and don't expect a solution even within your first year. So don't try to get there to a solution very fast. Just go deep on the problem to understand the problem. That's the easiest way of you say, you know what, like, because in textbooks, there's always at the end of the book, there's a solution. So if you are not patient enough, you know, you work on a problem for two days, then you know at the end of the textbook you can go and read it. Sometimes in 5 minutes of a problem, you want to go read the solution. That patience, you can develop it by work more on the problem.
Thank you. Bahar over there, and then.
Hi.
Speak up.
I'm a teacher, I can shout. Okay. Okay, all right, okay, thank you. So, coming from Iran, you said that idea popped up in your mind that, okay, there should be something to connect you easier. Now, getting there after a few years, what is the, actually the end user of your startup, what I should call now, the work you're doing in Iran? Like, I know that you work with partnership or you have a lot of people from other countries, but I'd like to know what is that perspective that you have right now, and whether yes or not, what are the challenges that you've had? Because I know it's a long way, you know, it's a long shot in Iran, so I'd like to know about that.
Yeah, without getting into that much detail, to basically board the people, the question was like, do we do our things for Iran as well? Because it's so challenging. The bank doesn't work. Probably a lot of you guys also might have some ideas because of our background in Iran. That you say, oh, if I just could do this, bank doesn't work, sanctions are big, a lot of the things. That's a real challenge. Fortunately for us, sanctions doesn't touch education, so we can be legally basically helping the students from Iran to come to countries outside, and our website is completely free for students, so it's not like we don't make money from the students, so they can go and search and do the work. But yeah, like working with Iran is very hard. Like that's why like majority of our customers are also from other places. A lot of things are hard, but Iran is such a good market. I hope one day these problems goes away. Like, come on, like the entire of my life, I'm 30 years old. We are dealing with these things, and every day, you know, you ask like grandpas, say, when does these things goes away? And everyone's just waiting. I hope one day these things goes away so we can naturally work with Iran as well.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I'm sure you have lots of other questions that you get the chance to ask the panelists afterwards. But please, a big round of applause.